Just do it.
No, just do the podcast.
Do the thing. Hello, everybody. This is Futro Hidden Movie Gems. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen, and today, I'm trying to think of a quote for this movie.
Come on, there's so many good ones.
There's a lot of good ones. Let me just see. I want to look through my quotes because I don't have it up yet. He's like, you're so concerned about how a watch works, but right now I just need you to be looking at the time. Just watch the time. All right. We've got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
Maybe it's better if you don't come in. Deniability. Yes.
And Cameron Mickle on the pod.
You will not survive here. You are not a wolf, and this is the land of wolves now.
That's
probably a good
the best
one.
quote. That's probably the best one. And then another one was just, I need you to sign this.
No,
I can't sign that.
yes, you can.
He just places the gun at her fetching chin. Sign it.
No, I love it. I love it too when he after he
can't.
shoots her and he
I
walks
can't sign
over
that.
to her
You
and he
can't.
says, "Don't you ever point your weapon at me ever again."
Holy crap, dude. That was a big moment. Big moment. Oh, emotional damage. All kinds of things.
Or when he
going
was
on.
like, "It's tiempo a conocer a Dios. Time to meet God." I was like, "Oh my God, this man is not messing around."
Ty, did I tell you I watched this with mom and dad? Oh, yeah.
Psycho.
Yeah, I feel like you could get away with it. They might not
No,
be privy
they
to
didn't
what's
like
going
it. They were like, this is so dark.
Well, yeah, it's fetching dark, but I mean, like,
What did
a
they think
lot
was
of it
dark?
is left to your
Jordan,
imagination,
the
which probably
bodies,
adds
the
to it.
hanging,
Well-
the hanging tortured bodies, the part where they torture him, the part where they murdered the family in front of him.
Well, we watched it edited.
Yeah, killing his entire family before he killed him.
Come.
Yeah, go ahead, eat. Sure, Dad, I'll just go ahead and eat. There's a man with a gun pointed at you. It's kind of hard to enjoy this meal. It's hard to enjoy these frijoles, Daddy.
That sounds
Papa.
like Resident Evil 4, Cameron. Come.
No, it's cógelo. Dudes, we're reviewing
But it sounds like
Sicario. Cógelo.
Oh my God.
Ty, stop.
I hear stuff. What?
Language.
It's not a bad word.
I looked it up. That's swearing.
No, it depends where you're from. In Chile, it actually just means go.
Well, and yes, in Argentina, it doesn't mean a bad word either. But
In Mexico, it does.
Oh, I'm sorry for all of our Spaniards listening to this podcast. I don't give a flying fudge what offends you, stupid España. Take it back home with you. Today we're reviewing Sicario. What amazing film by Denis Villeneuve. See, I don't think means anything bad in French, does it? I
Ty,
don't want to
did you
offend Denis Villeneuve.
did you see
He made this amazing
Did you see
movie.
the clip I sent of people saying his name wrong? Did you watch that?
Denis Villeneuve? No. I think we could put ourselves in that video. When we first saw the name, we're like, Denis Villeneuve or something like that.
Yeah, that's what the kid said. He's like, Dennis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, his name looks insane.
Well, yeah.
Like, I only heard
It's
someone
because
say Denis
it
Villeneuve.
looks like a Hispanic heritage name, but then him being French, like Denis Villeneuve, like you would never guess that in a million years without knowing he's French.
Well, and it's funny because, yeah, you notice that the E is before the U. So nueve would be N-U-E-V. So I'm just saying.
Anyway,
so nueve, yeah. So it'd be like Denis Villeneuve. That would be a weird name to say. Anyway, I'm just going on faith. I don't actually know. But anyway. And the writer was Taylor Sheridan, which is interesting because...
Oh, and we just have to give a shout out to Johan Johansson for the greatest music ever.
And Robert
Johan
Eggers.
Johansson. Good music.
And RIP to Johan. I did some research, Ty. So apparently his last film before he died was, he was working on not Winnie the Pooh, but it's, what's the other name? Christopher Robin.
Christopher Robin.
Is it the movie with Ewan McGregor? And
Christopher Robin.
Ty, so he apparently had made the entire music for Blade Runner 2049, and then Denis like, sorry, we're going to go with somebody different. But, I mean, based on what he said, but other people were saying it was the studio being like, this is not commercial enough, because it's the same guy that did Prisoners, Sicario, and Mandy music. And they're like,
So
sorry,
he's
we
really
won't.
going there. Yeah.
So they hired, a bigger name, which they went with
Hans.
the guy, Hans Zimmer. And
Which, I mean, if you have to settle with him, that's okay. If you have to settle with Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, but yeah,
Settle for
so
Hans
imagine,
Zimmer.
Ty, you wrote all the music and then they shut it down, and then you were working with Disney, the soulless corporation sucking the life out of you, and they're like, we need deadlines, we need it now. And then so he was doing cocaine and he died. Sucks.
Dude, so Disney killed our boy?
Yes.
Disney killed him. His blood is on your hands, Mickey Mouse. Oh gosh, I didn't know we were pushing him to the edge.
Also,
like that.
shout out to Robert
Stupid
Eggers,
Mickey.
Roger
Is it
Deakins,
Eggers?
Roger Deakins, sorry for
Roger
the
Deakins.
Yes,
cinematography.
like-
because he was actually
All the best people were working on
and
this.
also he was the one who got Josh
All the
Brolin
good
to
people.
take this role. Because Josh Brolin was filming, he just finished filming Everest, and Josh
Brolin's like, who the fudge is Denny?
Yeah, well, no, he initially
At
he
this
he
point,
just
he'd only
Villeneuve.
done-
he just turned it down because he had just finished filming Everest and was tired. But then Roger Deakins sent him an email like imploring him to join the project.
I'm so tired of acting. What a pain in my butt to pretend I climbed Mount Everest.
Have you seen his clips from Old Boy where he's just
Dude, I love
Josh
Josh
Brolin's
Brolin,
becoming
dude.
one of my favorite actors. He's so good.
I am inevitable. Dude, he's great in Goonies.
Dude, he's so good in No Country for Old Men too.
He's great in that, yeah. He's great as Thanos. He's great in this.
He's
Holy
also great in
crap, is he
Deadpool
great in
too.
this.
Yeah, and this and he's
Guys,
amazing.
Sicario. This movie came out in 2015. It stars Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, John Bernthal, I can't ever
Bernthal.
say his name, Bernthal, and Josh Brolin, and a few others like Victor Garber and Daniel Kaluuya and Jeffrey Donovan. Is he not the guy from Burn Notice? I always think of him as the guy from Burn Notice.
I just think of him from what's it called, Wrath of Man.
yeah.
He is from Burn Notice. Yeah, that's what he's from.
And Wrath of Man, he's also does the voice
Wrath of Man,
in
yes.
Invincible, the voice equalizer, or what is it called? The voice.
The voice equalizer.
The voice where they talk through and it goes, brr, brr. You know, when you sing, it's an autocorrect thing?
Auto-tune.
Auto-tune. He's got the auto-tune voice.
Oh, he's the guy with. Oh, he's the mob boss, Autotune
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Which,
Yeah.
speaking of
Holy
Invincible,
crap.
Boys comes out in 2 weeks. Oh, yeah.
No way.
Speaking of Invincible, a different show goes out.
The Boys is just like
No,
Invincible.
it
It's
is-
like
it
a
When
live
does
live-action
Invincible
version.
season 2
Which
come
one do you
out?
like more? Do you
I
guys
like
like
Invincible.
Boys?
I
Or
like
do you
Invincible more.
I like
Because
Invincible more
I don't feel like
personally,
a terrible human being after watching Invincible.
But I will
Or need
say
to shower after.
I like Homelander more than I like Omni-Man.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's just because
is
he's
more-
he's diabolical.
He's so out. Yes, but he's so psychotic.
He is
love
the most
Homelander's
irredeemable
portrayal
character
of
of,
just-
all time. There is nothing you could do to make me forgive
Oh my
his
gosh,
milk
Homelander.
sins.
Oh my gosh, so funny, dude.
Did you say
Homelander.
milk sins?
His milk sins.
Yeah, Cameron, did you see him? He was milking a cow and he's like, oh,
Yeah, I
in the
was
trailer
so
for season 3.
uncomfortable. I'm like, this should be rated.
So
Freaking
funny.
R.
Dude, he's finding peace in like a farm life. I love it. He's simplifying, dude.
That was probably
he's
his
moving
favorite
to the
Pokemon
country.
tie, was the...
Milk tank.
Dude, he probably milk tank. Dude, he's probably watching Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Like, oh, this looks like the dream life right there, dude. Blue milk, man. Oh my goodness, guys, Sicario, guys, it means assassin. Holy crap, this movie.
Means
I gotta
Hitman
say,
tie.
the first time I watched this, yeah, I know it means Hitman. The first time I watched this movie, I was like bored with it. I don't know why. I don't think I understood what was going on. Partially, in my defense, the beginning was such a bang. Like, it was like the movie I thought was gonna be for the rest of the film, was going in, busting up, disgusting meth houses, finding bodies layered inside between the studs of the walls. Like, holy crap. Bursting through the fetching wall with like a giant bulldozer and just bursting in, shooting people up. Like, I was like, oh, sign me up for 2 hours of this. And then like the movie's like very slow paced and methodical. This movie's paced like Prisoners. I tell people, I'm like, oh, it's a crime drama. And it's just so slow, but it's so gratifying. Oh my gosh, I love this movie on rewatch. Did not appreciate it the first time is what I'm trying to get by.
I would say it has more similar
Right, Kim.
pacing to Inglourious, and that's why I feel like you could totally like the
Little
first
bit.
viewing be similar to kind of how Grant was on the first viewing of Inglourious.
And Wind River. This movie, it was written by the guy
Same
that
guy.
did Wind
Yeah,
River.
the first scene, you're just like, oh my gosh, and Inglourious, like he murders a bunch of those people underneath the floorboards, so high tension, and then the rest of the film is like really slow tension building for a final crazy kind of action scene, and that's what I feel like kind of happens in this as well, and that's why because at the beginning you're like, oh my gosh, but then it's a whole lot of talking and then not a whole lot of shooting, and
But it's the people's relationships to each other that makes the story. Like, see, I don't care about all the... I'm sorry, no offense to 13 Hours and Michael Bay and John Krasinski, but all the offense made. I just didn't connect. I mean, like, it's all action packed. It's all stressful. I just like wanted more moments like Emily Blunt and Daniel Kaluuya confronting Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin's character. I love that. Like every time he's like, oh, what do you want to know? He's like, we're not going any further until you tell us what is going on. And it's like, lawyer.
Did she not drive you crazy though? The first time I watched it, I was like, I hate you so much. She was so annoying.
Well, no, I
still think she's annoying. I think she's the antagonist of the movie. I think she's the antagonist of the movie.
How dare you? No, she is not, and I'll explain to you later. She's the antagonist.
She is.
She's so fucking annoying.
No, she is. I'm not saying that she's necessarily the villain, but she is the antagonist of this. She is, dude. The cartel does like what's it called? Josh Brolin and mainly Benicio del Toro. Like he doesn't have any struggles with the cartel at all. They just murk everybody when they're with their ops. The only person who could blow everything over and ruin their whole operation is Emily Blunt, and she threatens to do that. And I'm not justifying what Benicio del Toro does, and same with Josh Brolin.
But to her credit, it was not legal what they were doing. Like this is completely off the rails.
But again, I'm totally with them.
This is what I want.
This is what's it called? Like it's the dirty world and
honor amongst thieves.
Well, see, and that's I feel like she's not doing the right thing, and because it's not illegal. Some of the things they were doing, yes, is illegal, but she's saying, "Oh, I'm trying to uphold the law." But her superior officer even told her, he's like, if it's a question of are you acting out of bounds, it's not out of bounds. Like, and obviously they took some liberties with that, but still, I think she's just trying to prove like, oh,
some liberties. They were shooting on an open highway, just shooting at people that threatened to get out of the car.
No, well, they waited till they fired first.
Yeah. No. Again, let's see who fired first. I know
they
did.
They engaged
first. They
engaged. They had to wait till
they literally had guns pointed at them, and they said, "Don't do it, don't do it." And then as soon as he raised his gun, boom.
Yeah,
they shot first. I'm pretty sure.
They did, but
it's insane. But again, you could argue because he raised a gun, it wasn't an act of self-defense, but it was bonkers. Yeah. Such a great scene. This is what was missing in that Gerard Butler Den of Thieves movie with the freeway. This just seems so much more like hyper real. Emily Blunt's reaction to it. She's in the car and she's like, fuck. She's like, oh my gosh. Like it was insane, right? She's sitting in the car. He's like, get out of the car. They all threaten, like, this is going to go down. And she nearly gets her head blown off in the rear back window. Oh, I know. Oh, so I love that, Cameron, that you said the antagonist. I want to talk about that. Like, right? Like, I like how you're leaning more like, yeah, when you hear how horrific Benicio del Toro's life is, I go back and forth between liking him and disliking him. So I want to talk to you guys about that.
Yeah. Because I think his arc is super interesting. Being a former prosecutor in Mexico and realizing, wow, this gets absolutely nothing done. Because he must have been one bad mofo, to the cartel, because they literally murdered his entire family. So
threw his wife in acid and murdered his children, dude.
Yeah, and so
that's what we're dealing with here.
That's why he turned from, okay, the law can get everything can protect us, to I gotta take matters in my own hands.
Oh my gosh, take matters in his own hands. More like, let me just tell me what I need to know, Hugo, or whatever his name was.
Why are you looking at me? Remember?
It just shows.
No hablas español. No hablas inglés.
No hablas. Alejandro just. And then it takes a shot of a drain, and then you just hear, and I'm like, there's two theories. One, that they tortured him, or two, that he... And both are horrific, but for some reason, on IMDb, you look up like what the movie is rated R for, and you're like, oh my gosh, they just leave that to your imagination. Because again, he's like very uncomfortable up in his face, and then you just hear him struggling afterwards. And I'm like, dang, dude. Again, this is Denis Villeneuve leaving it to your imagination. You're like, whatever you imagine is definitely worse. But all I can say is Benicio del Toro's credit,
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, guys, that scene was crazy, right? Like, again, it's so threatening, and it's so cold. Like, usually in revenge flicks, like, you see, there's like an air of like gratification. He's just sitting there and he's got a gun trained on the cartel guy, and I'm gonna call him Navarro. It's not. I'm thinking of Ozarks, but what's his name? The cartel guy in this one? I'll find it. What's his name? Julio Cesar Cedillo. It was Fausto Alarcon.
Shane from The Walking Dead.
Alarcon. And he's got his gun trained on him, and he doesn't even seem to get any satisfaction from it. He's just like, oh, fetch, dude. Murders his whole fetching family. Anyway, guys, what was it like watching it for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast? Cameron, start with you.
So watching it for the first time, a little bit similar to you, Ty, not as extreme. I was a little underwhelmed.
That's extreme.
Just because I had already seen, in my opinion, his best film, Prisoners, and in my opinion, his second best film of Blade Runner 2049. And so watching this one was kind of like, I don't know. Plus it was super ghetto. We watched it on just Jordan's laptop with connected to a speaker, and
oh, dude, this is a big screen movie.
And
dude.
then, but after the viewing, I was still like, wow, amazing, very dark. I totally understand what mom and dad said. And so that's why, honestly, I didn't have a whole lot of desire to rewatch it. But then I showed Drew it one night, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this movie is so much better the second viewing. And then I watched it a third time, and I was like, this movie keeps getting better. And to this time, watching it, I think it was my fourth or fifth time. And yeah, it is now a 10 out of 10 for me, and it's in my top 20. I'm like, this movie is literally, there's almost nothing wrong with it. Like, it, like, because I mean, like we talked about, it's the dream team. Like, you got the same writer from Wind River and I think Prisoners, correct? And then you get
I don't think that he wrote Prisoners. I think Denis Villeneuve wrote Prisoners, right?
Let me see what else.
I'm not sure about
that.
But
anyway, yeah, and then you have Robert, or what's his name? I always call him Robert Eggers. It's not Robert.
I know, me too.
It's Roger Deakins. Roger Deakins as a cinematography. It's just crazy. Like and then an amazing cast. Oh, he also wrote Hell or High Water.
Just quick correction. The writer was Aaron Guzikowski was for Prisoners.
Yeah. And then but yeah, and so I was so satisfied with rewatching it again for the fourth or fifth time, and just amazed at how it gets better each time.
Great. Dude, what a shot in the dark. Dude, he wrote Prisoners? And I'm looking at, he did Contraband, which was pretty dumb. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, love him or hate him. And then Raised by Wolves, and then like a TV show. How did he write Prisoners? It's like it's a perfect writing, dude. Holy shiz. He's sitting on a good one there.
I mean,
I guess he's like an M. Night Shyamalan.
It also helps when you have Roger Deakins and Denis Villeneuve to direct you to direct your film the right way.
For sure. But it's cool when you write like a really good story that they're drawn to.
It's okay.
And Johan Johansson, Cameron, don't forget.
It's the same thing as Donnie Darko tie. Masterpiece and then just garbage after.
Nightcrawler again.
One hit wonder.
Like all these people coming together to make.
But have you seen his cut, the director's cut?
Or even Daniels. That's another good one. Swiss Army Man. Everything that the two Daniels did apart from each other sucked. But when they came together and now did Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm like, guys, together.
Have you even watched their stuff when they did stuff separate?
I looked up at the music videos or whatever that Daniels did. Right? Didn't he do music?
Oh, I thought
videos?
you said they sucked when they weren't together. What did you just say?
Yeah, the Daniels. There's two Daniels that make the Daniels.
Yes.
One's like they're both in it, but I know,
but
one of them,
what did you say a minute ago? You said they sucked when they're not together?
Yeah, they stink when they're not together. When they're together.
Have you seen their stuff when they're not together?
Yeah, his music videos. I don't know which Daniels it was. I watched some of the music videos.
Turned down for what? They did that together.
Yeah, I don't really care for it.
But that doesn't make your argument makes no sense, because you just said they're not good when they're separate, but they did that together.
Oh, well, even if they didn't look, I don't know what they did together or didn't do together.
Okay, well, but you just said they suck when they're separate. I'm just saying, like, have you seen anything they've done separate? Like, did you see the death of Dick Long?
No, I did not see the death of Dick Long.
Then I'm just saying.
What else have they done? I thought they did a bunch of independent work apart from each other. Like, how come I've never heard of it?
I will agree that their work personally is better. Like, you like it better, but to say that they suck separate, I don't know.
Look at Jordan calling me out, dude. This is what are you, the disinformation board? Calling me out on I don't know what I'm talking about.
Let's go to first viewing and reviewing for the podcast for you two.
Thanks for calling me out, Jordan, because you're right. I sometimes I just talk. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm just you throwing out stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, what?
You're like, hey, what the heck was that? Why don't you back up what you're saying there with facts, huh?
I'm just saying.
Okay, Jordan, go.
I'm the last person to speak.
Jordan, go.
No, you got me, Jordan. What was it like watching it for the first time? Rewatching it for the podcast.
First time, I loved everything except the main girl. Like I think we already mentioned,
Blunt.
She just drove me
Emily
crazy.
Blunt's great. You guys are crazy.
I like her sort of now. She still drives me crazy.
She's
but
annoying as shiz.
It's just how her character is written. It's like she's always like,
She's the Debbie Downer.
Just go with the flow, man.
Yeah, it's just like the Walter's wife.
Why don't you just let your husband cook crystal meth?
Exactly. Stop getting in his way.
Stop getting in his way.
Let Walter White do his thing. But yeah, like Cameron said, this actually gets way better on rewatch. I was trying to just listen to it while I edit, but I couldn't focus. And I was like, I have to just watch this. It's so good because it's just like pulls you in. And my favorite sequence.
Whoa, we're not getting the favorites.
This is getting to my favorite thing. Sorry.
Yeah, whoa, easy. Settle down. Hey, Jordan, what are your two favorite things from this?
Wait, Ty. Don't you have to tell about your viewings? No?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
was that game?
I actually started. Remember, I was saying I did not understand this movie
okay,
the
yeah,
first
that's
time,
true.
and I
And
guess
then
I
you went
just
up
had
on
the
this
wrong
weird
expectations.
tangent about the Daniels, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
And then you're like, "Hey, what
Anyway,
the heck are you
okay, yeah,
talking
Jordan-
about? You don't even know what you're
Jordan,
talking about." Jordan, start us off, man. What are your two favorite things from this film?
Okay, so my favorite sequence probably in this entire film is them driving into Mexico. Like
You mean driving
that whole
driving
sequence,
back to America?
and then driving back.
okay.
No, but going there
Yeah.
first, like that
Going there
music and
first.
tension just building. You're like, oh my gosh,
The
and then
armored convoy, dude, driving. Holy crap!
and then him
dude.
saying
You're
"Welcome
in the
to
car.
Juarez,"
Yeah.
and you see all the dead bodies hanging upside down, chopped off heads, and
And
dismembered.
then what's his
limbs.
face? He's like, "Wow, it's really interesting how he does that." You know, they just think if you cross the cartel, it's really interesting how he did it. Like he was so desensitized to it. Like there's
Yeah.
like strangled,
Mutilated
mangled,
bodies.
deformed, mutilated bodies hanging.
And he's
from
just like
the
he's just
signs
like
in the street.
admiring
And he's
his
like,
advertising
wow.
and his like
yeah.
his
He's like,
propaganda.
wow, that's a great way to establish dominance as the cartel. Yeah, he's just so desensitized, dude. It's
I
insane.
love his character.
It's just-
That's such a great way to introduce you into a new world. Again, Emily Blunt's character was working primarily on kidnappings, was it, before this? To go to the freaking cartel. Holy crap.
I thought it was just drug bust, or was it?
She said something about kidnapping. That's what I heard.
Oh, that's right. They were like, where are the people?
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
could-
and then
Yeah,
and
they
then that's what they were
find
asking her
kidnapped
questions, and
victims
she's like, "I don't work
cartels.
narcotics."
Human trafficking,
That's
yes.
right,
Yes. She
thank
doesn't
you.
work in narcotics.
I
She's
knew
looking for
I
human
heard her and
trafficking.
narcotics in the same sentence.
Close.
Drogas, ¿cómo se dice?
So yeah, that whole sequence up until they finally do the shootout is so good. Like the music, and then I love those shots that are stuck and moving with the cars, and you feel like you're sitting in those cars with them.
Oh my word! Nothing's gonna happen here. If anything happens, it'll happen at the border.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It reminds me
Foreshadowing, dude.
of Clear and Present Danger too, when there's the spotter and that police car. He's like, not all the police
Oh
are
my
good.
gosh!
Oh my gosh. Just so
Look out for
good.
state police. You know.
Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, there's so much I love about it. Cameron and Ty have already
Leave
mentioned
some for
it, but
us.
having all the right people in the right places, because this movie is so visually stimulating. Oh my gosh. And the music, just like, it all meshes together. It's just like Denny's work with Roger and Johansson. Oh, mwah.
All right, Cameron, hit
The
us.
only
up.
knock I got on it is Emily. There's my only nitpick.
This is not a nitpick. That's
My first
interesting.
favorite thing is just Benicio del Toro. His character Alejandro is so good, and I was reading up a little bit about it, and I think it's so interesting because originally they took out about 90% of Benicio del Toro's lines because there was like a lot. They said that originally they had him explaining his backstory once or twice to Emily Blunt, and then
Interesting.
Benicio del Toro and Denis Villeneuve decided that they felt the best way was to cut
it
his
secret.
dialogue and just kind of give him like as little information as possible, and like give him the
Oh
brooding
my gosh.
silence, and like I think it just adds so much to his character because I just feel like that's what makes him so much like scarier, because that's what I've always thought of villains. Like obviously villains like Joker, who are manic and like talking trash and messing with you, I think are scary. But I think the scariest ones are just the silent ones, because then you just feel like, oh my gosh, like they have no fear.
You can't plead and beg with
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
'Cause, like, with
like when he's there, he's like, not in front of my family. He doesn't care. He's like, no, I'm gonna murder
Yeah.
your family in front of you.
and just
actually.
how
Like,
calm
what
he
a
is. He's just like
crazy
he's just telling him,
twist.
he's like, come. He's like eat, please. Like just his calm in the chaos is so jarring and unsettling if you're the bad guy. That's what makes him, I feel like, the biggest threat. And I love it how majority of his background is explained by Josh Brolin, and I feel like that's what adds to even the mystery of him, is because he's just like, oh yeah, he's a hired dog who will like go anywhere he's pointed. Like when he says things like that, you're just like, oh my gosh, because then it makes him feel like an inconsolable like beast. You're just like, there's nothing you can do to stop this dude from doing what he wants. So like you just have to point him, he's a loose cannon. You just got to point him in the right direction. So I think his character is just so amazing, and
Oh my
seeing his
gosh.
arc and kind of just like the little things that you know about his past of him being a lawyer and a prosecutor in Mexico, and definitely was probably a prosecutor against the cartel. That's why they murdered his family, because he probably was prosecuting a case that they told him to drop. And so it just lets you understand kind of why he's resulted to just, you know what, becoming, in essence, his own vigilante, where like, I do what I want to kill the people who I feel deserve it, which is morally not the greatest, but at the same time you consider the world that he's living in.
Naughty.
You consider the world that he's living in, and you're just like, man, like if your daughter was dropped into a vat of acid and your wife like had her head cut off, like I'm not sure what I would do either. So I think his character is just beautiful. And honestly, I just think one of the best things about this movie is that you would think it's kind of similar to Inglourious of, I think action thriller like drama films that focus on the characters just make the tension that much like better, because that's the one thing you don't really care, like, because you know the girl in Inglourious, her scene with Christoph Waltz when they're eating and him asking questions like, you want some milk with that? You're like, oh, this knows it. He knows it. And that's why with scenes with this, that it's just,
how did you injure your leg? Mountain climbing.
Yeah. And you're just like, oh my gosh. And so it's things like that in this movie they do so well. Just every single time Benicio del Toro interview or interrogate somebody, and then same thing with when Emily Blunt's kind of like, hey, this is like not going like well. Josh Brolin, they set his character up so perfectly. The first scene, he's wearing flip-flops and looks like he just came from the beach, and he's in a room with all these FBI agents who are all like suited up, and he's just like, and you can tell that
he's also shirtless
and
in
you
one
can
scene
tell-
too.
yeah,
Everyone else is gearing up.
And you can tell that he's the most respected person in that room, and that's what I think is so amazing. Is there's so many little things that he sets up that just make these characters like that you care about them and make them more real. Because that's you definitely know someone like that who's like a Josh Brolin, who's like a person in power, but is so casual and like, you know what, I don't care, I'm so bad at it, I can do whatever I want, kind of. But then at the same time, Emily Blunt, who's like, we need to hold up the rules, even if the rules change, where her superior will tell her the rules have changed, you're not acting out of bounds. Her inner conscience won't let that be okay, because she's like, this is still wrong. And so that's my opinion, why I think she is the antagonist, just because I feel like she is corrupting the mission and not caring about the overall good for her own personal conscience.
Interesting. I really, dude, you've laid out a serious case. You're switching my mind, just because the only thing I was going to add was just my favorite thing is this turmoil, because I've seen a lot of drug cartel shows, I've seen a lot of drug cartel movies, and they never grapple with how do we stop someone so villainous as this murdering psychopath, drug cartel that's only interest is getting money and selling drugs and moving drugs across the border. This one just poses the question, though. It's like, at what end are we willing to stop these monsters, right? Do we have to descend to their level, or can we take the high road? Can we actually make a difference? I think they mentioned they say the term make a difference, or like, do you still feel like, remember he said like, now's your chance, because when he's interrogating him.
Do you feel that change? Did you feel that?
Do you feel the change? Yeah. He like basically
streets.
taunts her on the street, says like, do you feel like that you're making any change? Like, it's still going on. As soon as you take out one bad, ugly head, another one rears its ugly head and it takes its place, and it just keeps going. So he's like, if you let us, because she's like, let's take this guy in. He's the bad one that did the thing that I witnessed. And they're like, no, this is much bigger. We need to take down like
your
this whole tunnel. We need to take out this.
Do you know who I am? I am a Jefe. And he's like, yes, I know exactly who you are, and I want you to take me to your Jefe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, bro.
Dude, it's insane. See, and it culminates into such a great moment. And I love the. You guys mentioned visuals. I love the tactical gear when they rear up at dawn or like twilight. It's so pretty. The sun is setting over the hill and they're all gearing up.
And I've never seen the
something
thermal
so
shots are actually filmed with
menacing.
the camera that actually is like thermal. It's not post credit. It's not like after.
Is that right?
They actually shot
that's
it with
wild.
that, which is insane.
That's so cool. It's so impressive and like tactical. Like watching that was just like a treat. I felt like we were watching something that like doesn't even belong in a movie to be this accurate or this hyper real, right? Like when they go through those tunnels, and it's just such an unreal scene. And seeing the thermal heating from the shoe prints from people in the tunnel, it's just so terrifying. And what's so great is I'm kind of going into my third one already, but this moral dilemma, what made it so good for me was the twist at the end where they literally provide that they only needed Emily Blunt there to say that someone was from the state or from FBI jurisdiction. They can't unless they had someone there to sign off on it and say.
Essentially,
it was above
they're
the book.
just the chaperone.
just
along
use
for
it.
the
Well,
field trip.
and not even chaperoning. Yeah, but it's almost like the kids are like, well, yeah, we don't even want you here, and they tie the chaperone up,
Yeah.
right? Like it's not even like they needed her there. They just are. It's the red line or the red tape. Or
Safety's
whatever. Yeah,
on
like,
and guns
it's the
pointed
fake
down. I don't
appearance.
want you keep messing up our mission.
Exactly. He's like, I don't want you shooting any of my guys. Like, they didn't even want them to come along in the mission. Like, you just stay back here. And they're like, she ends up going missing. And they're like, oh, freak. Like, let's go back and get one. You know, Daniel Kaluuya's like, where is she? You know, but
Just lay
it turns out
back.
she was just behind. She just got
Let it
shot
happen.
by Benicio del Toro right in the chest.
No, I love it. I love it when Emily Blunt
Insane.
punches him in the
Don't you
face,
ever
and then he
fetch a
just
point, you're gonna-
he just manhandles her and like throws her down, and then what's his?
Whoa, take it easy,
and then-
Cameron. You just love that he manhandled her.
Well, no, and then I love how his team, like, their loyalty is with him. Their loyalty is totally with Josh Brolin. Like, they do not give, like, that's why he threw Daniel
Kaluuya.
on the ground, and he was like,
Kaluuya.
lay back, baby, just let it happen. Like, they were messing with him and taunting him, essentially saying, we can do whatever we want to you. We do not fear you. Like, we will follow our leader and do whatever he says, regardless of what you believe. Like, and
You can also disappear out here in the desert and pretend to be a casualty of war.
Exactly.
Like on the freeway, when they drove away and he's like, how everyone's going to fetching know about this. And he goes, no, it's not even going to make it into the local paper. That was the craziest moment too. Because like, again, he said it with such certainty. You're like, how the fudge are they getting away with all this stuff? And again, it's like, dude, the cartel, they do not need prying eyes. Everyone's terrified to report on it. So the locals, they're not going to report on it because if they report that this is happening, guess who ends up their wives getting beheaded and children thrown in acid? Theirs. Like, so they're not going to report on this. No one's going to find out about this. Only the government had, you know, on this side of the U.S. border, or the U.S. government, right? They were the ones that had to say, like, well, we're doing things by the books. We're not doing anything shady across the state lines. And technically they were across the border, but I mean, like, they were literally at the border. Like, people in their cars waiting to enter into this country, just open fire on the fetching freeway. It was so crazy. Anyway,
And
so
they
the movie
created
sticks with me more
like
because
a real life
Yeah.
that like the entrance, because they said it would have been like impossible. So they actually they did a full scale replica of the Juarez border crossing. And they built it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because they said they would have had to close the road for like days, which is like trying to close that, like the U.S. border for a movie. Yeah, that would have been, or like a section of it would have been, a tall task.
like, sorry, illegals, you just have to wait your turn. Legals and illegals. Excuse me, dreamers, you're going to have to wait your turn until we're done shooting here. It's like, I'm starving. Wait your turn. We're making art here, okay? This is far more important than anything you're doing. So anyway, I love it because, again, it's that moral ambiguity meets morality. Because the first time I watched it, I was surprised that it came down to a morality tale. So I wasn't expecting it. The second time, what makes it such a joy is, even if you know the twists and turns, is watching their impeccable acting by all the actors in this movie, just like Prisoners. I already know who's getting kidnapped. I know who's going to get found. I know all the twists and turns. But to watch them react to what is happening is the joy of this movie. It's superbly acted, superbly shot, sound great, directed beautifully. I'm just blown away that I love watching their reaction to what is happening because it is so real. It is so tangible. Benicio del Toro, like you said, Cameron, like, blew me away at this time. Last time he was such aloof. I didn't even realize it, but I was like, sometimes less is more. This is one of those movies that did it right. Shrouded in mystery. They gave you just enough information.
Because
and it's
it's
better.
one of those things
all
where
for
the
it.
more is left up to your imagination, the more you're probably like, oh, this dude's probably killed millions. Like, he's invincible, Because if you're told those things,
just a
you're just
wild
like,
dog,
oh,
dude.
okay. But like, if it's left up to your imagination, you're like, I can't even imagine what this guy has done trying to get retribution for his family. And that's what I think is so sad, and why it has a looming feeling afterward. Because I think the overall message of the movie is I just feel like it's just like there is no victory in this war, like in the war on drugs.
Amen.
Because you see the final scene of his family,
Number two's son, yeah.
his son playing soccer shoots it, and then like they pause the game.
His father's not going to be there to see the game.
And they pause the game because they're shooting. And so you're just like, you're happy because Josh Brolin and the guys came in and like killed some bad people, but you look at it and you're like, you don't feel the difference. You're like, these people's lives are at the same, if not worse off than it was. Because you look at now, that kid doesn't have a dad, that woman doesn't have a husband,
and the protection of having number two, and like he was obviously, you could say he might have been very jeopardized. We didn't get that, but like if you're number two from the cartel guy, obviously unless you dissent and try to leave, you're in danger. But like like you're safe from the cartel leader
absolutely.
if you're serving him faithfully. But now that status is removed. She's just another innocent civilian with children, with fatherless family, with now a new head honcho coming in to take ownership. That's kind of like how you said. The last shot to me was like, oh my gosh, the next cartel guy's now taking his head, taking charge.
Yeah.
He's now placed himself at the head of the new organization, and now whoever runs the most guns, whoever threatens to kill the most people, whoever devastates enough people, that they're going to be the ones to take charge. And it's just
and that's
so
what I think is so
devastating.
interesting is because I feel like Denny is trying to like poke at that of how a lot of times in movies we like to end on the scene where it shows them conquering and all the good side effects of what happens, but a lot of times it's like how long lasting are them and are they actual real good effects? Because it's like it's easy to say, oh, we won now. Like it's just like, I mean, after the revolution, like after we revolted against Great Britain, it's just like you're like, oh yeah, we won. You can so easily say like, look at all this good, and it's like we had a civil war not too far after. It's like things can only be good or like quote unquote good for so long because like everything is changing, and so it's like once that bad guy is removed, like another bad guy will fill his void, and because that's just how like it works. And so that's the thing of why I think it's so interesting that they show that. It's like, oh yeah, you might have this in your mind of moral victory of like, oh yeah, we stopped this bad guy,
we got the guy,
you're going back home to like your home in America in the safety, but then like these people that are just chilling there near the border and like near in Juarez, like they still have to deal with drug lords. It's like, I don't care if you got rid of all of them so it's only one drug house or drug lord. It's like you still have to deal with a drug lord running the city. It's just such a sad story.
Yeah. For sure. But man, it's well told and well acted. Like I said, the joy just seeing their reactions to things, it's so good. I that's what I realized about even like scary movies. Like some of the best scary movies are the ones that have the drama element. That's why I think Ari Aster is really good, just because he has so much dramatic weight to his films. Now, Midsommar I didn't like as much as Hereditary. Hereditary is so good though, because you watch Toni Collette's family reacting to this. You watch her son going through this pain. It's really a family drama, and they're so good and convincing. That's why I draw back to it. And it's not because it's the scariest movie I've ever seen, but I'm emotionally invested in what happens to the family. I'm emotionally invested in what happens to Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro, which is surprising.
Do you know what other directors are really good together? Is the Coen brothers.
Well, hey, Ethan Coen, or is it Joel? He directed Macbeth, and that was a great thing, so he can still do. It's a good thing. It's a good story.
There's a reason he didn't shoot it with his brother.
Why is that?
What?
Why is that?
Well, I was making a bad joke. I was just bumming off your Daniels thing.
Of you saying the word
I know,
brother.
but it's still good. See, they can still make competent
I know.
things
I was making a joke.
Oh, okay. Well, you got me.
It was bad.
Dude, do you guys have any other nitpicks? I love that you guys said Emily Blunt annoyed you. She annoyed me in the first, but now I like her more because, again, I think it drives the story. I like what you mentioned about her being the antagonist.
And see, honestly, I think the reason she's also the antagonist is because she has no character arc. Well, her character arc is downslope. It's a negative slope. Like she only digresses the entire film. Like she goes from being this like motivated. Like idealistic, and then you see she starts picking up smoking. At the end, she's smoking when there's nothing. She starts smoking when she's stressed. Then she's just smoking as a habit, and then you see like everything in her life start to go down. And now she's like, even if you believe that she is right in her thing, she still gave in. She gave in. So she was all talk and no game. Like she was not willing to die for the right thing, and she was not willing to stand up for what's right. She wanted to say it, but then when like hard things came, she was willing to one, do what everyone wanted to do, but then put the blame on them as well. She wanted none of the accountability and
wow. Dude, okay, but it doesn't necessarily make her a an antagonist, but it is obviously an opposition to Benicio del Toro
that's what I believe. I think you initially think that, because I feel like she is portrayed in the first, I think, 2/3 of the movie as the protagonist, even 3/4 of the movie. But then the last scene of how you realize, in my opinion, that the real protagonist is Benicio del Toro. And so that's why I'm like, he is the one that you see his arc and you realize, oh, this is all culmination, all leading to just this scene with him.
Cameron, you said what's white, and then you're like, oh, what's right?
Wait, I said what's white? Nuh-uh, I said what's right.
Well, you're like, what's white?
It was a
right.
word. It was a word whisker. Yeah.
Oh, really?
But you caught it.
It was
You
just
caught
funny
it.
you saying that.
What was right?
She did what was
She
right.
was always standing up for what was right. And
I'm not
right.
Rodney
You got yourself.
Rat.
It doesn't matter.
Rodney Wat.
I do that. So, Cameron, I would agree with you. The only thing I would say is, as a protagonist, I think the decision that was made was the signing of the document. She ends up deciding to do it. And like you said, it's still a slippery slope. She decides not to take matters in her own hands and shoot him there on the balcony. Again, the character makes the choice. The protagonist is always the one that culminates in the climax of the story that has to make a choice. And whether they regress and falter back and become lesser of a person because of it, or they exceed and they excel and they become a better person.
That is a valid argument, and I could see that. But I just
because he doesn't change, right? She's a dynamic character because she changes, right? You see her progress or her regression.
I
rather.
think,
and then Benicio del Toro, he's the same person. How many different people have they pointed guns at and gotten confessions and signatures from, right? Like this is not a new thing for him.
But that's the thing.
It's just the first time he's had to do it to Emily Blunt.
I feel like
It's I said regression.
I feel like the reason that he is a protagonist is because I believe that his lack of change shows his arc, because you assume I think in his mind he thought the moment I kill him is the moment I'm going to get closure, and then you see it the moment he kills him he gets zero closure, and he's just like, wow, this is like it's kind of all in vain. And so that's why I feel like he is the protagonist, just because he in his mind he's like, because I mean it's one of those things you tell yourself, like, when I kill the guy responsible for this, I will feel better. But then
I'll be whole again.
He kills that guy and his family, and he's like, I still don't have
gratification from it.
I still have no wife. I still have no family. I'm a worse person now, and so I feel like that's the reason.
And I'm still threatening FBI agents in their home.
And that's
another great thing. That scene, the way they shot the light and the darkness, like he's enshrouded in darkness, and she's lighter, and it's just the light is getting dimmer and dimmer throughout the movie.
And if you look at her shirt,
like,
in the beginning is like a vibrant blue, and then it gets more. It gets more of like a gray blue, and then it gets like darker, really gray, just plain, and you just see her.
If you like that stuff, Cameron, you would probably like Breaking Bad, because they pay that much attention to the details.
Oh my gosh, over 5 seasons, Cameron, it's insane. He's wearing like vibrant greens and yellows and stuff, and then it just starts getting dark reds, blues, blacks, red. Like,
and that's what I love about Denis is also at the end that last moment of her pointing the gun. See, because you can interpret it two different ways. You could interpret it as Ty saying, she's going to take the moral high road and not shoot him. But then in my opinion...
Oh, no. I would interpret technically, it would have been, I'm rescinding my signature.
Oh, yeah.
Because she already signed it, and it was like, in that moment, she's like, crap. But she assembled her gun again, and then was like, I could still shoot this guy, because he's, again... Which is insane. You're right, because shooting him then and there, it's not in a moment of self-defense. It was like, for all the wrong things you did, you deserve to die in this moment. Taking justice, you're right. It would have been even crazier regression, right? Like it's like you can't just shoot this guy, prosecute him, take him before the court.
In my opinion,
whatever
it's her. Right. It's the closest thing that you'll get from her saying, "I understand why you do what you do, because this is what you have to do in this world." Because I think that right there is her pointing the gun at him and then putting it down, saying, "This is a land of wolves, and I'm not a wolf." And so for me, that's why I feel like that's her giving up and saying, I can't do this to this scale.
Done.
Like I can't be a knight in shining armor in the land of wolves. I have to go to, like you said, go to a small town where the law is still.
Go to a small town where they still uphold the law.
Yeah, he goes, but this is the land of wolves. And so I feel like that.
Have any of you guys seen Narcos? It's kind of like they have to fight fire with fire. It's crazy.
No, but I'm also curious. Have you guys seen Sicario too?
Tom Clancy.
Is it any good?
I haven't seen Sicario 2 yet.
It actually has decent.
I started it. It
has decent reviews on
IMDb. But I
IMDb.
didn't like Sicario 1 the first time I watched it, so I do want to watch it again. It's got Benicio and Josh again, but I don't know. I mean, if it's still the original cast, but was it Denis Villeneuve that did it?
No. Oh, definitely not Denis.
No, don't get his name anywhere near this project.
Don't taint it.
It's like Donnie. Is it Donnie Darko level, Jordan? Of
Donnie S. Darko.
Yeah, Samantha Darko.
Oh my gosh!
I thought so. It's bad.
Too much fun. All right, folks. Would you recommend Sicario, the assassin?
It definitely
dark. It is dark.
Yes.
I shouldn't have watched it with mom and dad.
But to be fair, there are certainly moments of brutality, but this is not like the most brutal film I've ever seen. But it is very emotional.
I feel like all of Denny's films get better on rewatch. I feel like because Alex said this film was very boring, and I'm like, I can see a lot of people thinking that, but
because
the more I watch it, the
you just
more
don't
I find
understand.
better.
I totally understand.
Watch it again.
I totally understand where Alex is coming from because
I agree.
even
I
the
was bored the first time I
climax
watched it. Yeah.
is of the fight in the ruins, like in through the tunnels.
Yeah,
like
the
you
tunnel.
don't see any
You
of the
don't
action.
see-
All you see
yeah.
is Emily Blunt. Like
It's not Batman walking at two guys with semi-automatics blasting him against his chest, bulletproof.
Exactly.
chest,
Well,
which
but
is
I
pretty
love
cool.
it. He's
It's
a
not
lot like
that.
David Michaud, where the shots are very unloaded. I mean, we've talked about this. Like even when they're torturing the guy, he's
Have we also talked about Michaud's pronunciation?
yes, it's Michaud. And then so
Michaud.
they're in the
Michaud.
room like torturing that guy, and all it is like a yellow room, and there's just three people sitting in
well,
there.
yeah, and then he's like,
And
I
just
gotta go. I
love
gotta go
And
get
then,
there's
and then a
nothing else.
focus on the drain, dude. Just
Yeah.
like a shot of the drain while you hear someone.
Well, and even
struggling.
those desert shots, there's like nothing else in the desert.
Oh,
It's
dude.
there's so many great like unloaded
Those
shots.
desert shots, man, it made me just think like, oh my gosh, they filmed this at Dune. It made me think that Denis Villeneuve was on planet Sicario or whatever the freak that was called. I can't remember. What
The
it was called
Spice
in Dune.
Planet.
I expected a sandworm to come out any minute. Anyway, that was a dumb joke. All right, folks, would you recommend? Yes, we all recommend this movie. Definitely watch Sicario. Watch everything of Denis Villeneuve. If you're worried about darkness, start with Arrival because it's dark, but it's still more hopeful.
Ty says everything except his
not
foreign
as-
films because that's too much. For Ty.
Dude, his foreign films are bleak AF. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Incendies, Polytechnique, so sad. Like, good, but sad.
He's
Prisoners,
a sad man.
so sad, but good.
No, Ty.
He's a
Ty,
sad
it's so
guy.
hopeful at the end. The whistle.
Yeah. The whistle.
That's about as hopeful as Denny gets. He's like, oh, he might not, die
exactly.
in that hole.
He's like, but again, the implication is like, okay, now he's been rescued, he gets healed back to health, and then he ends up spending most of his life in prison away from his kids. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we end every podcast by sharing movies that we've seen lately, movies that we're looking forward to. Cameron, start us off. What have you been watching lately,
Awesome.
man?
Yeah, I've actually been able to watch like a decent amount of stuff.
Let's hear it.
I went and saw Doctor Strange in theaters yesterday, which kind of mixed emotions. I'm glad that I got Jordan's like high praise, and then Grant and Ty's kind of like meh. Because then I went in, I feel like with the right expectations, because it was kind of, I feel like similar to like a Batman v Superman, where everyone was like, oh man, I was so disappointed in it, and I went in and I was like, oh, that was enjoyable, because I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I think there was
same.
a lot of cool parts.
That's perfectly
Perfect.
fine. Just head scratching.
Luckily,
it a
I
few
didn't
times.
get a whole lot spoiled for me. John Krasinski is the perfect cast of Mr. Fantastic. Holy fudge. I was
Fantastic.
like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Was he though? He was in it so brief.
I know.
Didn't do a
It
lot.
was sad.
Didn't really get a moment to. No, but I'm sure they could still.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the funny thing with
There's
this.
infinite
They're like,
universes.
there's
This-
another universe where he
me
is.
and
gonna
Noah,
be,
me
yeah.
and Noah, who I went
They
and saw
gotta
it with.
reboot that franchise because heaven knows they haven't made it enough.
We talked about how this is Marvel's like loophole where now they can literally kill people in our universe in 616 and then bring them back from any alternate like universe. I'm like, they have unlimited power now. Now that they've opened up the multiverse, they can do what they did in Infinity War and be like, oh well, this one's a different Black Panther, the one that didn't get dusted away. Like, I'm just like, okay, yeah, now you guys are never gonna kill off anyone ever.
Yeah, and this one in this universe, Chadwick Boseman didn't die of colon cancer. He's still alive.
And then I also watched
And they can just CGI his face, and he never has to die. You just
true.
keep him alive perpetually.
I also watched Full Metal Jacket, which, man, I mean, I gave it an 8 out of 10, but
Full Metal
it is
Jacket,
dark.
dude. Holy crap.
I
Dude, those tracking shots of them with the guns.
my biggest gripe is just the fact that I felt like the first like 45 minutes was just all for nothing. But I mean, I could understand how they like sometimes it feels like that traumatic experience is just something in the past you just got to continue on. But I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like two separate movies.
Yeah.
It does, but what's insane is that's just boot camp.
Yeah.
The guy couldn't handle boot camp is putting bullets in his head and in his sarge. The guy's got to go witness what happened in Vietnam, and you're like, what the freak?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's experiencing this before he even goes. Like, that culture is like terrifying.
And then I'll.
Not very welcoming. And then they have to go and face those horrors that they witnessed over there. Shooting a sniper, like everyone's fighting to kill this sniper and it's a fetching kid or a girl or whatever it was. It was like,
Yeah.
this is the person we were all here. Like, you just murdered like half of our people. We finally just got this one lone person sitting up
I
here in
will
a
say
tower.
I did want them to blow out her brains.
Unreal.
I would have made a hole in her head. and then I saw I watched Charade with Audrey Hepburn. a really fun.
Yeah,
It's a really
dude,
fun one.
Cary Grant.
Yeah.
It's a great
Solid
movie.
7 out of 10.
Love Charade.
And then I watched, we rewatched Some Like It Hot for like the millionth time. It showed Kelsey and Tatiana. Such a fun one.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, that movie. Dude, that movie is so funny. Him dancing. I'm a boy. I'm a boy. I'm a boy. I'm a boy. Oh boy, I'm a boy. And then the last one I watched was Us, which I'm super glad, and I feel like this is kind of a same thing with
Dude, Us.
kind of a same thing with Batman v Superman, where I went in because Jordan was like, yeah, it's meh, and he's like,
And he's right. It's nah.
See, and I went in with super low expectations, and I was really satisfied, and I really enjoyed it. The more I thought about certain plot, there's a lot of plot holes, which I was a little bummed that he kind of just threw out the whole, oh, the government makes clones and they reenact what you do. I was like, how does that logic even work? But
Also, are they still like they're mirroring everything you do? And then it's like, but at times they're not.
Yeah,
so,
that's
okay.
I kind of just accepted that made absolutely zero sense, that part, and for me that just kind of made it more enjoyable because I thought that the suspense in this movie was insane, dude. That just standing in the driveway.
It's a good. I think there was 1/3 of this movie that's home invasion that's really well done.
And that was
whole
my
home
biggest
invasion
gripe.
was great.
Is what's called. I think they should have prolonged it of them coming in. I didn't like how the family immediately. I wish they would have kept the mystery because I felt like the mystery was the biggest part of fear. Because once they attacked, and then the rest of the movie,
who they
and
are.
I'm like, this is less scary. I did think the final twist was amazing. Of spoiler alert, where the girls switched places when she was like a little girl, and that's when I was like, oh fudge. That I love that twist because kind of the second third of the movie, I was kind of like, this is good, but not amazing. But yeah, that's I just wish they would have prolonged the first part and then just kind of just made it a little bit more quicker. But
so she switched, and again, did they switch again? See, I don't even remember.
They don't switch
did
again.
She end up getting free? No. Yeah, that's right. You killed the original girl that was switched at birth, and she was looking to get out of there.
Yeah, because that's why you would hear her do some like gargling noises sometimes when she would kill people, and you're kind of like oh my gosh, this chick's kind of like enjoying this killing a little too much. But yeah, I thought it was like a really fun,
hilarious.
and I'm really excited for Nope, Jordan Peele's next movie.
Nope. Daniel Kaluuya coming back.
Dude, yeah, him.
I just love that title.
Yeah,
Nope.
and honestly, I was so surprised. I loved the two main Lupita Nyong'o. I know I butchered her name probably, but I thought she was fantastic.
Klingon.
Worth.
Worth.
And then I also thought Winston Duke was great because I'd only ever seen him in Black Panther, and I thought he was okay at best in Black Panther. But in this movie, I thought he was amazing. I also love Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Like, I think he's a great actor.
Yeah, ding dong.
Yeah, ding dong. Play yeah, ding dong again. It's so funny. All right. I love it, Cameron. You've seen a lot of good movies. I watched 2 good movies I wanted to report here on the podcast to all of you. I watched Pig again with
So good.
Jack Nicholson.
with Nick Cage. I know. I can't believe I almost said. I did not mean to confuse those two. Jack Nicholson. I'm saying it again. Nicolas Cage in Pig. It's a great movie. My wife and I watched it together. She really enjoyed it. Kind of has it's like Ratatouille for adults, basically. And it's like a tame version of John Wick. I have to get my Pig back. Don't watch a trailer for it because then you're like, oh, it's going to be like
And
Nick
don't think
Cage.
it's John Wick. It's not John Wick.
I know,
not
but I'm
John
just saying it's like Gandhi replaced John Wick to go get his animal back. And it ends with Ratatouille. So, and then I watched Jack 4. So I watched High Art, and then I watched another form of High Art, which is just a bunch of guys getting together hurting themselves. Yeah. Jack 4 was so funny. I laughed out loud. There were some of the stunts in there were unbelievably hilarious. So painful. Oh my gosh, I cringed. It was awesome. Johnny Knoxville, bless his heart.
The whole movie. I was like, I'm in so much pain right now.
You had a heavyweight and just deck him right in the and it dented his freaking cup, dude. This heavyweight champion.
The pogo stick hurt me more though, almost.
Oh, the pogo stick, hurt, for sure.
And then,
for sure.
wait,
Anyway,
I just want to say real quick what I was looking forward to. I'm looking forward to it, not really looking forward to it at the same time. Tarzan, just because it was on the TV for like half a second, and I saw it was Margot Robbie and Skarsgård, and I was like, well, I have to watch it just because Margot Robbie looks so hot in this movie.
And I almost want to give him another chance,
But it looks
because
so bad. And it has
Chris Evans.
because of Northman and Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz. I'm like, how did you make this movie terrible?
How could this movie be bad? So, Jordan, you seen anything lately?
Yeah, Cameron mentioned the Jake Gyllenhaal one. Paul Dano directed, Wildlife?
Yeah.
Wildlife.
I watched it, and I hated the wife so bad.
Dude, she's the worst.
Carrie Mulligan? Why does everyone hate her so much?
Dude, I'm so glad you watched it. I was surprised at first of how little Jake Gyllenhaal has, and that's why at first I was like, wow, he's like barely in this movie.
Yeah, I'm glad I stuck with it because there's so many times I'm like, I kind of see where this is going, but it wasn't until the end that I was like, oh, okay, like I really, really loved that ending, and it made actually everything worth it because it was just very slow, and I was just like,
yeah, and you're just like following this kid, and you're like, why am I following this kid in his photography? Like, this is the dumbest shiz ever. And I hated his mom too, dude. That ugly, chunky guy. I was like, what the fudge? Because he's rich. I was like, you make me sick, dude.
Yeah, she's as Cameron would say.
She's a yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know.
She's not Jake Gyllenhaal. What the fuck? You make me sick.
I know. Yeah.
I was like,
But that ending photo seriously elevated the film. Them taking that picture and their eyes are getting all teary.
Yeah.
Got me.
I want to see this movie, Wildlife.
Yeah.
I do want to see it. It's been on my list for a while. I just keep forgetting to go back to it.
Ty, directed by Paul Dano.
Jordan, that meme you sent this week, Britney Spears standing next to Ryan Gosling and
Cameron.
that woman.
That is so me.
And it's like,
I'm so bad at that.
It's Ryan Gosling hugging this lady,
I think
and
it's
it's
Ellen.
like films I've seen too many times, or Grace knows how many times, and then Britney Spears is standing up to the
My
side
watch
films
list.
that are in my watch list that I refuse to watch, but I keep returning back to the movies I've already seen. Like I just watched Pig again, and I'm like, I have all these movies on my watch list that I need to watch, but I'd rather just
so
rewatch
hard.
Pig. It was so good. It's insane. It's so funny. But Jordan, anything else you've seen? I heard little birdie tells me you watched Better Call Saul. You just started it, the final season.
Oh, I started it, but then I was like trying to edit and watch it, and I'm like, this is not working.
No,
I know. So I stopped it, and then I watched other stuff instead because I'm like, I do not want to spoil this.
You have to watch. Oh my gosh, it's
I know.
it's the best season so far.
I'm going to, but I finished Atlanta, so I'm excited when we get to talk about that.
Atlanta is insane. I don't even know what to say about Atlanta. It's crazy, dude. Half the episodes have me like enraged, but I'm like, are you just trying to get a rise out of white people? What's your deal? Donald Glover, dude, I love you.
He's a goober.
I love you. I love your work. But it's like strange. It's very strange.
Yeah, Grant was trying to get me to watch Demon Slayer, so I watched some of that. There's stuff I like about it, but I'm like, this is too far anime for me.
Yeah, dude. Like, my brother-in-law trying to get me to watch Demon Slayer too. I'm like, dude, guys,
Yeah, Drew's tried that with me too, and I'm
if it's not Death Note, don't try.
If
Stop.
it's not Death Note,
Death
One
Note
Punch,
is pretty
or
much
Yeah, Death Note, One Punch. I can't go any further than that. So it's just like,
yeah, Jordan. Or we could watch.
we are.
We could watch. What's it called with Jake?
Ponyo.
We could watch. What's that?
Those are Studio Ghibli movies,
Attack
Ty.
on-
Those are
It's
amazing.
It's still
We could
weird,
watch
dude. The mud monster flying around and Spirited Away. I'll never get
don't
that
even
image
start.
out.
Yeah, dude. Spirited
What the
Away was
fudge
so.
was that?
They're all amazing.
Thank you,
Stop.
Cameron.
I thought
It's
it was
insane.
garbage,
We should
bro.
never.
Even
we should
Drew,
talk about it.
even
It is
Drew, who
garbage.
was like trying to force it down my
they're
throat.
masterpieces.
I get it that it's a good piece of art, but it's like it doesn't make any sense.
And I was so
They're amazing.
uncomfortable.
You know, it reminds me of Jordan. It reminds me of the speech Dennis gives. It's the political speech that Charlie Day gives him, and he's like, "Voting for me, the right thing to do, Philadelphia. So do." This doesn't make any sense. That's me reading or watching any
Highly
Studio
disagree.
Ghibli. Yes,
They're masterpieces.
that's insane. Big babies that can talk. What the freak, guys? Real quick, I'm very excited to see.
I'm excited to see Prey, the new Predators movie.
Oh, real quick, Multiverse of Madness. I like the two things, but again, they've been saturated because we live in a time where all these ideas have been done better. Invincible literally did. Episode 1, watch the pilot. At the very end of the episode, they did what they pulled off in this movie. Wanda coming in, destroying this whole Xavier, John Krasinski, all that. Very clever. Like, I loved seeing those folks. You know, that was great. It's like a great Easter egg. But like, again, Suicide Squad also did it, where you had the whole cameo people coming in, storming the beach, getting wiped out. Like they've done this already, right? And they did it better, in my opinion, in Invincible and the Suicide Squad. And then the other thing was again, after having seen Wanda and Vision, they just kind of absolve her. It's the weirdest thing. Like Strange comes in and he goes, "We never faulted you for it," or whatever. Like he says some weird line. I'm like, that really absolves her of like enslaving people and making them like her mind slaves for like unspecified amount of time. Yeah. You're completely forgiven, Wanda. I'm like, and she had to take herself down. I was like, stupid. It's just stupid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The-
I liked the movie. I liked the visuals.
The one
There were
thing
some
I
really
thought was
moments
cool
in
is
it.
I liked how one, I thought America's powers were really weird. I didn't understand how she could like super punch sometimes, and then I was like, and then just mastered portals. Anyway,
I
but
loved her. I loved her. America. No, because again, her name is America. And I'm like, fuck yeah, America.
No, but one thing I did really enjoy is I loved how Doctor Strange kind of had to come to terms with like the fact that his life, like he doesn't have Rachel McAdams in it, but like
Cameron loves the Rachel McAdams aspect.
oh, of course, dude. I was like, and he's like, I love you in every
He's like, that's where
universe.
the
I was
emotional
like,
weight
oh my
is.
gosh, dude, I love you in every universe, Rachel McAdams. No, but I thought that was cool because I felt like that's the difference. I felt like of Doctor Strange's character and Scarlet Witch's character is where Doctor Strange accepted the reality that he was part of, and he just accepted like it's not exactly what I want, but this is my reality in my life. Versus Wanda was like, oh, well, I want the perfect reality that I want because I know it's out there, and it's just like.
But here's
I
one
don't
last
understand
thing
why
I'm
she
gonna
didn't
throw
just
out.
go to a different reality, but
Yeah, or
she's like,
Rick and Morty,
but-
right? Take over someone
but
else's.
I did understand how
reality. Wipe
I
out
feel
your
like it
other-
could reset her own children, the ones that she's like, oh, I would do anything to protect them. See her as
Cameron,
a
you keep
monster.
saying children. See, I fell for this too because I was like, oh, she wants her kids back. I'm like, why does she?
She
want
doesn't
kids?
have kids.
She wants Vision, and this Vision wasn't even a fetching part of this
Yeah.
movie. That's another biggest gripe I had with this. I was like, the reason she is mourning is because of Vision's death.
And
wasn't
they
even
glazed over it.
mentioned.
She was like, I had to
Well,
rip out the stone and it was
barely.
worth nothing. And I'm like, well, yeah,
And-
you murdered
and
your.
again, yeah, and the kids were in the figment of her imagination.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
Well,
any
they only
sense.
did they only
These
did
kids
that
weren't
because it was a
real.
lot cheaper than having Vision in every single scene.
Probably they're like, that's too much to bring this actor back. No, that guy can barely get work. I don't even remember his name. I only remember him as Rick von Lichtenstein guy from the Jousting.
He's also
movies,
he's
the
also in
Nightstand.
Prestige.
And in Prestige. Wait, he's in Prestige?
Yeah.
No, he's not. Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman. Who is he in Prestige?
He's like he's the buddy who takes care of the kids. Oh no, sorry.
have to see that
I'm
movie
thinking of it's what's it called?
It's not
It's
Prestige.
the one where Russell Crowe's crazy.
He's-
A Beautiful Mind. It's A Beautiful Mind.
A Beautiful
Yeah,
Mind,
He's the one
yes.
with
He's his
the
friend
daughter,
in A
yeah.
Beautiful Mind, yes.
Oh, and he's also the villain in Firewall, Ty.
Yes, he is. That's right. The other movie, which I loved. As a 14-year-old, Firewall's a cool movie for a 14-year-old. Don't watch this as an adult, though. It doesn't hold up. A great movie.
War
for,
Games too, Ty.
War Games is a great
That
movie.
holds up.
Watch-
That
That one
haven't-
holds
I
up,
haven't-
Kim.
I
It really
never
does.
seen it because it was every single time I tried to watch it.
You
Mom
need
and
to
Dad
watch.
were.
I just
PG-13.
Yeah,
You're 8.
I just rewatched War Games like a few weeks back. It's great. I showed
Mom
it to
and Dad
Maddie.
were
She'd
so
never
funny,
seen it. I'm like,
though.
this is like the quintessential movie of the
But
80s. It's great.
Hunt for Red October was okay though, because it's old.
No, that one's amazing. That one holds
I
up.
No,
need to see that
I'm saying it was
one
okay
because
for me to
that's one I
watch
hope.
instead of freaking
Yeah. Oh,
War
yeah,
Games.
yeah,
Where they're
yeah.
like,
That
it's
movie's
PG-13.
fine.
Same with The Day After Tomorrow.
Dude, John McTiernan makes the best action movies.
Yeah, for sure. And anyway, so that was my other gripe. And then like not enough multi-madness happening. Like I guess it needs to make some logical sense, but I almost wanted just a montage of them flying. Like there was one where they're like passing through dimensions when they're falling, cool visual, but they didn't spend any time in these other universes. None. Just here's the one universe we're gonna spend time in. I'm like, really? Like you could do anything? And here it is.
Also
This
these
is the
giant
story. I'm
monsters
like,
who have Scarlet Witch power, like witchery, and then they just get
I
like
can't
thrown off,
handle
and they're like,
monsters.
"Wah!" And I was like,
No, I did like watching Wong fight the one. Like that's like one good scene I guess you could watch. But I'm like, so Scarlet Witch put this monster here to go find America? I'm so confused right now about everyone's
I'm
motives,
being reasonable.
why the movie happened. And again, like the fact that she had to kill herself. I like Zombie Strange. It made me so much of Sam Raimi. That's like signature Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, Zombie Strange. I thought that was fun. But again, it's like, it's just such a small part of
was
it.
so
It's like
it was so
hardly.
random
and everyone's like,
having-
oh, Sam Raimi made it so dark. I'm like, dude, like really let him go dark. Like, have you seen Spider-Man 2? The scene with Doc Ock in the
Yeah.
hospital? Our mom still to this day doesn't want us to watch it. Like, it's amazing.
what was the Army of the Dead guy name, or Army of Darkness?
Bruce Campbell.
That was the weirdest cameo, and how he forced him to punch himself. I'm like, I don't know if that's justified.
He's a
punishment.
fan of Three Stooges, Cameron.
I'm like, I don't know if that's
yes, he's a
I
fan
don't know
of
if
the
that's
Three Stooges,
justified for
self-inflicted
him
harm.
trying to enforce, the law, and then you're like, oh yeah, let me force you to punch yourself for 2 weeks. I'm like, it's kind of a villain thing to do, Doctor Strange. Like, what did that guy? All that do was like, hey, you have to pay for those pizza balls, and he's like, curse you, and I'm just like, what? It made no sense.
Is Doctor Strange the villain?
Yeah, I'm
Is
like,
he a
I'm like,
monster?
why?
That guy literally did nothing.
Because Wanda is perfect. She had to just come to a realization and grieve. And, oh, dude, like, it was so disturbing. Like, I know, like, there was this interview with the director, and she was like, I don't know if we need a villain or whatever. Like, not director, because Sam Raimi directed it. It was, like, one of the writers or producers, I think is what I'm trying to say. And they were like, the movie's about grief. Do we really need a villain or whatever? And I'm like, yes, you
It's
do
a
need a
superhero
protagonist.
movie.
Again, you can have...
I disagree,
It's a
Ty.
superhero movie.
I thought WandaVision was amazing up until they introduced a villain. Then I was like, this is stupid.
My reason for disliking it was because it was like the scapegoat, so they could say that Wanda has no culpability. But I'm like, she still enslaved these people. Like, I can't get over the fact that they're not willing to agree that their heroes are bad people. I don't know why they have this obsession. They're like, I guess because they have to sell action figures at the end of the day. I don't get why they're not like, Wanda, what you did was reprehensible. Instead, they're like, you're totally fine what you did. It's like, why? Well, because you were grieving? Everyone else lost half the world's population. Why does Wanda get a free pass? Because she lost a fetching robot she was...
Wait,
How?
Ty, did you say
Why?
sell toys? Do you know what toy sells the most? Darth Vader, and he's a villain. Boba Fett.
Dude, bad A action figures, dude. It's George Lucas, dude, when he signed those royalties, when he made his films, he's like, I get all the toy rights. And the toy commissions are like, sure, toy royalties, baby. Holy crap, dude, George Lucas.
Man.
And he still sold it for $4 billion. My man, George Lucas. Holy crap. And look what they're doing with it. Guys, last thing I have to say, Kenobi, the trailer, it just got leaked. Disney leaked some information about Kenobi. It was just as I feared. Kenobi is not going to be any part of it. It's going to be some amazing SJW woman taking over the story. And again, it's called Kenobi. I just want a story about Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor and their relationship to each other. No, this is about how some woman was tasked with killing Luke Skywalker and doesn't go through with it and then overthrows the plan. And she's the one that actually saved and intervened and saved Luke's character. Like, talk about retconning. So just diminish Kenobi's part in all of this. Okay? Like, I watched A New Hope. Kenobi is the one that sends Luke on his way. He's the one that's a mentor to him. And they're in this story called Kenobi. It's not going to be about him. It's just some other stupid Sith Lord that has an awakening and decides to go good. That's what they leaked. I don't know if they're going to actually end up keeping to that story because it just got ratioed. Everyone hates it. Everyone disliked this video, this leak thing that's happening. All Star Wars fans don't want this. I consider myself somewhat of a Star Wars fan. I'm not the biggest nerd. I've still never seen the holiday special, even though I hear it's wonderful. I'm just so disappointed. And I knew it when I watched the first trailer, when Kenobi was in it the last 2 seconds. You see Ewan McGregor at the very end. I'm like, it was no difference from him in his movie. It's like in The Last Days of the Desert or whatever, where he plays Christ. Like, it's just like, oh, it's a man in a desert. And you see him for 2 seconds. Like, the story's not going to be about him. Sure, he's a titular character, but he's not even going to be the star protagonist of his own TV show. Oh my gosh. Leave it to Star Wars. Good on them for ruining just everything that I enjoyed about the old series. Good job. Like, was it you or Maddie? Someone told me, they're like, well, now you can just enjoy the originals. Did you tell me that, Jordan? You told me, that was Maddie. Maddie's like, well, now you can hold the originals in higher esteem. I'm like, yeah, because all they're trying to do is tear them down. I don't know why. It's like, we just want to destroy everything that resembled George Lucas because Disney has to be the fetching octopus that has its tentacles into it all. Like, we're the ones that did this story, not George Lucas. It just seems so disingenuous. My gosh. We were all chomping at the bit to watch more Star Wars. Check out Mandalorian, a totally original character, and it still follows the same lore. Everyone was on board for that. At least most people were. I mean, sure, some episodes were better than others. But anyway, super disappointed. Not looking forward to seeing Kenobi. I just had a rant about that real quick because, again, I hope there's still time. They can save it. Somebody put out this fire. Put out this dumpster fire before you release it on Disney+. My goodness, folks. Anyway. Had to rant. Love you guys, everybody. This has been Future Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futuremovies@gmail.com. Check us out. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a comment. Tell us a movie that you'd like us to review. We have a recommendation. I have a DVD now. I have to watch Cure, I think it's called. Korean film. Is it Bong Joon-ho? It's not Bong Joon-ho. It's the guy that did Memories of Murder or something?
No, so it's Bong Joon-ho's favorite movie.
Oh, Bong Joon-ho. That's why I keep getting confused. His favorite movie, which is like Tarantino saying he loved, what, Unstoppable or something? And Dunkirk, which is why Jordan has now put Dunkirk as his favorite Christopher Nolan
16
film.
Clinton's got my back.
Actually, it might be Interstellar. I don't know. I go back and forth.
Yeah, dude, Interstellar.
It's
I
definitely
can't beat it. I
Interstellar.
know everyone hated it. I don't. Everyone like hated it because they're like Anne Hathaway ruins it. I'm like, well, she was wrong. The movie made a point that she was wrong, and I like that she was wrong. I don't know why.
Somebody is a close third.
It's like you guys. You guys are annoyed with Emily Blunt, and you're like, oh, she ruins the movie. I'm like, it's because of her. There's a movie. It's just another stupid drug cartel movie without her in it. Anyway, which was an interesting choice. Denis Villeneuve mentioned that he wanted a female because he felt like a female would be more idealistic. This is like from his own words. Because a guy like me, like you, Kevin, you're like, oh, freak. I'd be like, yeah, to stop the bad guys, let's do something that's not
Well, yeah,
above
every
the-
single person on the entire team that was murdering people was guys. So
Yeah, we're guys, exactly. And I think that's interesting because, again, she stands out because, again, she's so more, you feel
well, I
how
just
much
think
she's
on the average,
conflicted
women
by
are
it.
just better morally than guys.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We're much more disagreeable than women.
Well, except in Ozark.
Oh, man, you want to talk about bad movie endings? Just do it. Have the guts. Do something. The show was over. Didn't kill her. Don't know why they didn't kill her. Hey, everybody, this has been Future Hidden Movie Jim signing out. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
The land of wolves.